There is a law in this country that says that a president has 60 days and only 60 days to wage war without asking Congress for permission. The war against Iran started February 28th. That 60-day clock has now expired. And Congress, well, as children do, they went to recess. Nothing about that. They're doing nothing. All right, here is what people are not explaining clearly. Right now, we are either watching a constitutional crisis unfold in slow motion or the complete death of a law that was supposed to prevent presidents from starting wars on their own, like dictators do. Anyway, I'm going to break down exactly what happened. So, in the Strait of Hormuz, we have some stuff going on there. Netanyahu and Iran have all said some crazy shit. That is only making things worse. First, though, let's talk about a little bit of history. And if you don't like history, sorry, but you need to know this. The War Powers Resolution that passed in 1973, after the debacle that was Vietnam, it was made into law because Congress watched presidents drag us into a war that absolutely nobody voted for. The law now is simple. A president can send troops into hostilities, but has 48 hours to notify Congress. At that point, there are then 60 days that the clock starts. And at the end of 60 days, Congress either authorizes the war or the president has to stop it. That's it. Simple, to the point. So, Trump notified Congress on March 2nd, and the 60-day clock started, ended May 1st. It's expired. What did the administration do? They said, well, the clock doesn't start because we have a ceasefire. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth literally testified in front of Congress. Quote, the 60-day clock pauses or stops in a ceasefire. Here's the problem. That's not the law. It doesn't say that. Nowhere does it say that. Constitutional law experts across all political spectrums, no sides here, said that in the provision in the War Powers Act, there is no provision, I should say, in the War Powers Act that says that a ceasefire stops the clock. And on top of it, it's not even a real ceasefire. There's still skirmishes, still a little fighting going on. Then the White House has another argument for this. They say the war is over. And they have a quote saying that the hostilities that began on February 28th have terminated. Meanwhile, U.S. warships are dodging Iranian missiles. So here we are, May 11th. This is where things stand right now. There was a Qatari natural gas tanker that crossed the Strait of Hormuz for the first time since all of this started at the end of February. And that's not nothing, but the strait handles about a quarter of the world's oil that crosses through the sea. So effectively being shut down from the end of February, one is nothing. Right now, because of this, we have a national gas average at $4.46. Experts say it could go up to $5. Yes, in California, you would beg for $5. But we're not going to get it. We're going to get more and more because Trump has rejected Iran's proposal, calling it totally unacceptable. Iran said, quote, they will never bow their head before the enemy. That sounds warlike. The UAE was hit by 2 drone strikes from Iran the other day. And, we still have all of this craziness going on in the strait with the actual ships. Plus, another kicker here, Iran started something that they call the Persian Gulf Strait Authority. It's a government agency that literally is stopping ships to collect toll through the area. It's insane. Secretary of State Rubio said, are we going to essentially let Iran, control international waterways? All of this, it's still a war. It's war language. Then we have Netanyahu. He was on 60 Minutes the other day in a taped interview. You need to hear this quote. He said, the war with Iran is not over. He called it a war. It says it's not over. He listed out what has to be done to make this actually go away. Enriched uranium has to be removed from Iran. Enrichment sites have to be dismantled. There are ballistic missiles program that has to be done away with. And when pressed on how to actually remove nuclear materials from Iran, when you're in a ceasefire with them, Netanyahu said, you go in and you take it out. That is a sitting prime minister describing a future military operation while the U.S. is already past its legal authorization window for the current one. All right, here's the bottom line. The War Powers Act has never actually been used effectively against any president. Every administration, whether a Democrat or a Republican, has found a way around it, or they just ignored it. Courts won't touch it, and Congress won't enforce it. Even Vice President Vance called it a fake and unconstitutional law even before the war started. So yeah, they were already planning out what they were going to do. You knew that, though. All right, so where does this leave us? We have a war that legally should have ended or been authorized at least 10 days ago. We have a ceasefire that both sides are actively violating, and we have Iran rejecting the peace proposal, plus a prime minister talking about going in and taking out, nuclear materials. We have a Congress that goes on recess and has done nothing, essentially, because, that's what they're good at. Whether you support this or this war or not, you should care, though, that we have a law that is designed to keep one person from making decisions when we're all supposed to have a vote and a say. And nobody's actually talking about the fact that laws aren't being enforced. That's the real story here. Democracy is based on our laws. So if we can't actually enforce laws, we lose democracy. We lose the way we live. Democracy is the way we live. We can't have one person making decisions. Our country was founded on moving away from a king that made one decision. I'm not calling Trump a king, because clearly Democrats and Republicans, even before him, have been doing this. So we have a pattern of moving away from democracy. That's what people should actually be concerned about. Because in the end, the more this goes on, the more it does affect you. Because it affects everything in your day-to-day life, and it affects your money. And your money is your day-to-day life. All right, comment below if you think that we're going to get out of this in any time. And until next time, hopefully have a great day. Hopefully. And remember, think differently, take control, be a renegade.